Hello and welcome to the Virtual Kansas City SQL Server User Group. Thanks everyone for joining. This month we're preparing for FabCon and at the end of this month. And as such, we've made our theme all things about Microsoft Fabric. We're happy to welcome Rajendra Ongole to our user group. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Today presenting data warehouses in Microsoft Fabric. So thank you for presenting this today. I know it's super early where you are right now. We really
Yep.
appreciate it. For the
Thank you. Thank you
audience,
so much.
this session is recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. And with that, I'm going to let you take it away, Rajendra.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Maybe your location is different. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are located. I'm going to start with the data warehouse topic. So how it is going to work and all. I'm going to showcase to you the agenda. Before moving on to this, just like to give myself an intro. I'm Rajendra. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP and a super user at Microsoft Fabric community. And I have 14 years of experience working with industry experience with Microsoft Tech Stack, and I'm currently working as a BA lead at Robert Bosch, and I'm one of the organizer at Delhi Tech community groups and trainer as well as a mentor for Power BI activities. And if you want to catch up, on the right hand side, you can find me my social networking site and LinkedIn and data analytics blog is my recent activities, which I started writing the blogs on Microsoft Fabric and Power BI related topics. Thank you. Yeah. Coming to this agenda, what is Microsoft Fabric Warehouse? I'm going to give an intro about it. And along with that, so most of the there is a perception like where the data will be get stored once you can start or else accepting this Microsoft Fabric. So there should be a difference between the warehouse and Lakehouse. I'm going to showcase you in detail. After that, explore the data load strategies in Microsoft Data Warehouse. Once you can start working on the data warehouse and activities, how it will be get activated. And along with that, as a part of warehouse learning, I'm going to showcase to you how we are going to create a data pipeline. So it's a kind of similar experience of Azure Data Factory and how we are going to create a pipeline via Azure Data Factory pipeline activities and what are the process to schedule the data pipeline. Along with that, I will come up with some kind of a transaction SQL data source system. Like I'm going to create some tables and where it is going to reside once you can create a data warehouse. Along with that, data flow gen tools. So it is almost whoever working on the Power BI part, it is similar activities on the online Power Query editor. So on the cloud part, how we are going to create a data flow gen 2 and how we are going to extract the data via data flow gen 2 and resides the data will be on data warehouse. So the complete structure I'm going to showcase to you in a part of a demo. And if you have any queries, feel free to answer. I mean, just to post the queries in the chat box so I can read it. I can answer to your queries as well. First of all, what is a data warehouse? So as a part of Microsoft Fabric, this has been uh, released in 2024 back. So where there is a Microsoft built, and it has been come up with a lot of personas within the cloud-based environment. So if you're observing the data warehouse, this is a kind of a repository where we are going to store a complete structured information. It's not going to accept unstructured or semi-structured, like maybe if you are working with a source systems part. So it's a complete structured data and completely processed information where you can, on the top of it, you can write the SQL statements, or maybe if you want to create the new tables, just like a person of SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. So once I can start showcasing the demo part, you will get to know the understanding part, how it will be get resides, and even we can create the schemas as well and the data warehouse concept part. So the complete structure, we can do the data preparations, analysis, and reporting, which is going to accept the larger data part. So if you are building a warehouse means the data should be resides in a larger environment and it will be get have some kind of a staging layers. Staging should be there where we can start like huge information that will be get stored in the Microsoft OneLake. So Microsoft OneLake will be the platform. On the top of it, the data, whatever the activities we are going to use it on the data warehouse part, it will be get stored in the form of an unique copy. So what is this unique copy stands for? So previously, before Microsoft Fabric, we will try to import the data from different places as per the project build. So maybe I will extract the data from one layer. I'm going to store it into some database. Maybe my colleague is going to extract the data and he's going to store the data in a similar name standards. But here, by using this Microsoft Fabric OneLake, we can remove this redundancy, data redundancy. We can make the data in the form of a single copy of information. So where you can fetch it for different personas. Maybe my team is working on a data engineering stuff. I can pull that information as a single copy from the Microsoft OneLake. I can build my activities on my own. Maybe if my team is working on the Power BI reporting part, I can pull that information into I can extract that information into my Power BI layer, and I can build the data visualization and share my insights to my customers as well. So the completely fabric environment, how it will be going to work in the sense, it's a completely high speed where you can see the SQL analytics endpoint engine as well, where you can write the statements, most of the DDL, DML statements, which we will work on, like a creation of the tables or else a deletion of the tables, even procedures as well, where we can start writing the procedures to execute or else to schedule the procedures as well. We can write it by using enablement of SQL structure endpoint layer. So that how the data will be get stored in OneLake. So data is going to store in OneLake, Microsoft OneLake, in the form of Delta-Parquet format file. So what is this Delta-Parquet format file here? So here, if your data sets which you are going to extract, it is completely structured. The table will be gets resides in the form of a columnar storage area. It's a completely compressed, though the data size is very high, and Parquet file format. So the data sets which you are extracting from semi-structured or unstructured, the file should be stored in the form of a JSON file format and so on.
Stop
So we
talking.
can see it. You can see it, that information, and we can observe the information as well whenever where the files will be get stored, and we can see the analysis as well. In a simple note, how this OneLake in the sense, OneLake is almost, whoever familiar with OneDrive to store our data, it will be almost similar as like a OneDrive for data. See here, I have come up with a warehouse and as well as a lakehouse differences. So storage format, how this warehouse is going to store in the sense, it's as I said, right? If you want to write some statements, SQL-based statement, the data will be get resides in the form of structured layer. It's completely structured. You can see the proper columns. You can see the number of records as well. And coming to the lake house, the data will be get stored. Maybe if you are
Shut the
working
fuck
with
up.
an unformat or else of structure, unstructured or else semi-structured, we can see that information in the form of CSV, JSON file formats too. And coming to the data types, how it will be get stored. As I said, if it is a warehouse structure, it's a completely varchar or decimal or integer kind of a format. And if it's a lake house, the data will be get resides as an unstructured format. The Spark types, example, if you can see the data types is string, float kind of a source system. Computation part, it is completely high speed, high performance and SQL based. We can work on it. And maybe if your data is getting resides on the lake house, it will be get support for the SQL based. You can write the statements, and also maybe on the top of it, if you want to do some more additional analysis, it will be get supported with the PySpark and AML kind of a models too. Like PySpark engine is there, and transaction SQL on the top of it, you can write it. And even the Python separate code based, we can try to enhance your data modeling and processing it into the layer. And coming to the data processing part, it is completely traditional ETL, extract, transform, and load. And we can start loading this information into the warehouse activities. And coming to the lake house, if you're observing, it's a completely direct click. Maybe you can try to see the complete information is a fast transaction and fast removal. So we can see the direct lake storage informations too. So generally the use cases part, if you want to build the report on the top of the warehouse, you can fetch it and you can grab that information. You can pull the data into your reporting part. That is nothing but a Power BI application. And we can see the analysis in the form of in presentation part in the coming to the Power BI. And if you're working in the big data analytics, maybe if you want to do some advanced data modeling and so on, we can have a machine learning models and even streaming data sets also, we can try to view it via Lakehouse functionalities. So last very important point, functionalities part. So it will be get support read or write operations. As I mentioned, it is supporting DDL statements, that is automatic creation operations, DML manipulations. So we can select it and we can further update also the data if you're working in the warehouse part. Coming to the lakehouse, it's just a data we can read up, but we cannot write it or else we cannot perform any activity. Just a read only operations we can perform via lake houses. So the lake house is the base, and from where you can try to fetch it to even to the warehouses too. That's why it is read only operation, the functionalities part. What is the benefit? Why you are going to use this Fabric warehouse then? For faster activities like data operations, we can try to make use of this Fabric warehouse. And maybe the larger data models, if you're working on it, the data will be very cheap. I mean, the data part, the workloads will be very cheap so that we can try it. And even we can try to redo like a data table creation and so on. And the resources part, we can allocate multiple parallel computations inside of the warehouse. I'm going to showcase to you how it will be. And even as I said, we can create the storage process, stored procedure approaches, where we can try to redirect your data pipelines, or maybe if you are using the data flow gen 2 for the data extractions. And very important, once the data resides or rests in the Fabric ecosystem, it is as simple as easy to fetch the reporting part, that is nothing but a Power BI in the form of a direct lake. Direct lake is something, the fast data processing part. We can try to retrieve the information from data warehouse to your front-end application, that is nothing but Power BI. Coming to this data strategy, how it will be going to work. So example, I have some raw data which I'm going to showcase to you. So I'm going to create some tables, transaction SQL queries. I'm going to create it and load that information into my warehouses and complete information. Maybe if you require to create the staging layer, we can create it, a staging area for temporary layer. And after, maybe if there is any updates of my data, to store the historical information too, I can try to make use of this enterprise data warehouse. If you're observing the ETL extraction, we can perform it. And inside the staging layer, by default, it is enabled. If you enable means, it will be get created a staging layer. Otherwise, maybe by default layer is the DBO engine, DBO schema. It will be get created and load into your warehouses. Once, as I said, once the data tables are available or resides on the warehouse, on the further part, we can do the advanced analytics by using the reporting, or maybe you can try to create an app or paginated reports and so on. Fine. I just come up with a GF, one of the screen, how we are going to create it. It's as simple as easy. First, if you want to get start with the warehouse, maybe if you can try to enable this trial license from Microsoft Fabric. By default, you can see a Fabric Power BI window. If you are open, if you are already familiar with the Power BI. So maybe if you want to make use of the Fabric, we have to go to the account administration portal, and from there we have to enable the Fabric activities, Fabric personas as well. And after that, you have to have a dedicated workspaces, not within your personal workspaces. And from there, we can create a data warehouse persona, or from there, you can start creating the Fabric related personas like a data pipeline or data flow gen 2 and so on. So as I said, once, maybe if I'm working on the data pipeline building, you can schedule it. We have an option. We can schedule the data copies. And as per our requirement, the repetition, the data frequencies part, is a daily or a hourly basis. We can configure it by using the scheduling the pipeline and from the data pipeline editor. This is a window. Fine. I'm going to showcase the complete demo, how it is going to work. So first, to build this data warehouse, I'm going to create a few of the tables by using transactional SQL. And one of the fact table, sales table, I'm going to extract it via data pipeline, which is going to reside on my Azure blob. And the last file, because we have to follow a schema kind of star schema approaches. So I'm going to extract one more table from a data flow gen 2 via time dimension as well. So let's get into this demo. So as I said, I have opened the Power BI persona. If you can see my browser, app.powerbi.com. So whoever working on it, maybe if it is not enable Fabric environment, I have to navigate to the admin portal, and from here, try to enable the Fabric. So I'm currently using the trial. So you can see it, I have enabled it. On the left-hand side down corner, currently still is a Power BI window, Power BI activities. So here you can see the Fabric as well, once you can enable it. So this is the Fabric environment, which you are observing the different personas and so on. Fine. As I said, if you want to get started with the Fabric related activities as a learning purpose, so we need to have a dedicated environment. So let me create a dedicated environment in my Power BI itself, working space. DWH demo. And I'm currently using a trial workaround. You can see it here. My license mode is trial with a Fabric trial license. I'm configuring the larger model because my dataset size is somewhat little bit higher. So it's larger semantic model for the storage. So once you create it, a workspace, you can see it here is a Fabric content, and automatically it will enable this workspace trial account. That is nothing but my Fabric license workspace. So once you created a workspace, so how can you get started with this warehouse? So you can see here the new items. From here we can try to see all the personas which has been supported by this Microsoft Fabric. So these are the personas. Like maybe if you want to directly copy a job via pipelines and so on. Maybe if you want to get started with the Power BI report dashboards and so on, we can get started with these personas as well. So currently, as I said, I want to create a warehouse, and from there, I want to see how this data will get stored from the warehouse, and I'm going to prepare a report as well if time permits. You can just try to search with the warehouse from the new item. So whenever, if you create a warehouse, you can see a similar personas as like a SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. Like you can see the schemas, you can see the created tables and security logins and so on. You can see in the left-hand side Explorer, it's creating. So this is a similar model which you can currently observe as a schemas part, like a securities and so on. By default, it will be get created with a DBO schema. You can see it here. Still refreshing. So maybe if you want to get it refreshed, here we can refresh it. So DB was the by default schema. And currently, so by default schema, so maybe I'm interested on my own schema. We can create it. We can create the schemas by using new SQL query. So in center, if you want to build a warehouse for the quick connections, you can see it here. You can extract or pull the information from Dataflow Gen 2, or maybe if you are want to inject the data via ADF, Azure Data Factory, that is nothing but a pipeline building, we can extract it. And for playing environment, sample data sets that are providing, we can also play with some sample source systems as well. And along with that, transactional SQL, you can create the tables, you can delete it, and even you can write the stored processes and so on as well by using this transactional SQL. Fine. Let's start creating a new schema instead of using the existing DBO. Because I want to create a dedicated staging schema, I'm going to create a new SQL. So you can see it here, the functionalities part, new SQL query. Maybe it will be get supported with new visual queries as well. So where we can try to perform a drag and drop approach, and we can try to use the data retention as well as the duplication of the information. We can remove it via new query as well. Let me use the new SQL query, create a new schema as well. Create schema staging, as I said, staging schema. So you can see here how much time it is taking. 1 second. You can see this at the down corner, down, top completely down, horizontal, vertically. Staging schema is created inside. It's just a structure with the tables, views, and stored procedures will be get added. So currently I haven't created or else added any tables. As I said, I have prepared some script for creation of the tables, few of the tables, transaction SQL based. And I'm going to load some of the data into those tables, and I will showcase to you how the table looks like. So see here, as I said, I have come up with few tables, customer table with some fields, ID and customer name, and product with the product name, brand, you can see it here, size and packaging, and cities table with the ID. Last table is version control. So I need to maintain the historical data as well as current data. So as I'm following the SCD type 2, or else maybe if you are following current data itself, then I can use the SCD type 1. I'm not going to maintain the historical data. So for that, I'm maintaining versioning table as well. So I'm just trying to create these 4 tables. Create it. It's a completely blank, only the structure. I'm not loading the any table. You can see it on the left hand side, staging schema part. These 4 tables are getting pop up. And also you can see how much time it is taking as well in the down. Just a structure. These are the fields: ID, city name, region, customer. These are the fields, customer table. And completely, if you're observing, whenever I'm trying to unhover, what is the structure? KCDWH is my data warehouse dot staging dot customer is my table information. So let me store it. Maybe if you want to reuse these queries for the future needs, we can store these queries as well. So you can see here, we can store. Currently, it is an SQL query one. Maybe we'll just try to store it with some different name. Tables. You can see it here. Fine. Let's try to load some data for these 4 tables. I have prepared insert statements with some data sets, some data. This is completely how I'm extracting. I'm extracting via transactional SQL. I'm creating some tables, new tables, and also I'm loading with some data into my Fabric warehouse. Assume that these are manual tables. I can directly create it in my warehouse. Let me open a new SQL query. So here, I'll just try to explain what I'm loading. Customer table with these particular columns, like customer ID and customer name with some records, few records itself. And product table with some records with the product name, product brand, and the size and SKUs. And another table, cities table, I'm trying to load all the information as per the data, little data. So cities table, which is going to maintain city name in the region and this IDs. And last table, as I said, actuals with and budget, version control, ID based. So I'm trying to load version table as the last. Try to load it, these data into those tables. It will take some time as per the network speed and the bandwidth. Let's try to refresh. You can do the data refreshes at the top, or else maybe the table to the table, you can perform the data refreshes too, completely here. With some data, if you're observing, I have loaded IDs, customer name, city table. These are the fields. Version with 2 columns, ID and budget, and product, some records with some records. Okay, fine. So currently these 4 tables I have imported and I have created via transaction SQL. So I created and also I have inserted with some records. Let me save this also with some data and some name for future references need. Load SQL tables. Fine. These four tables I have imported. So already one of the table is resides on my SQL server, which is an data source system, SQL on-premises SQL server. I want to extract that on-premises SQL data set, which is my fact table. I'm considering my sales is my fact table. I want to get it import into this warehouse. For that, as I said, I'm going to use a data pipeline. You can see it here, get data. You can extract it via new data flow gen 2, which is a similar experience as like online Power Query editor if you are already working on Power BI site. A new data flow data pipeline, which is nothing but, as I said, similar experience as like ADF, Azure Data Factory. Let's try to create a new pipeline to extract the data of SQL database, SQL Server data into your data warehouse. I'm giving some name, sales table, created. New pipeline name, sales table. Automatically from this window, it is opening a new browser with sales table. That is nothing but a new experience of data pipeline factory. On the left hand side, what are the steps that you need to perform? So you can see on the left hand side, choose the data source and which database you are going to connect. Where the destination, you have to provide the destination area. That is nothing but currently my data warehouse. And completely, do you want to create the table as which schema? Like we have to configure it. Currently, I created a separate new schema name called staging, but by default is DBO schema. We can change it, we can configure it. Maybe if there is in that particular table, unwanted columns are there, we can also remove it. And finally, the last part is you can review it, the complete overview from how the data is getting flowed from one source to this destination. Fine. As I said, I'm going to get connected to an SQL Server database, and I will create a staging layer to store my data into my Azure Blob Storage. And from there, I'm going to load this information into my data warehouse. I'm selecting the SQL Server database. You have to provide these details, server details, and configurations. Let me open my SSMS. And if you have any questions, you can post me there so that I can answer. Next. So already I have connected. So I'm using on-premises because whenever if you're extracting the data from on-premises SQL database, we need a gateway connection is mandatory. Once the gateway is turned on and up and running, you can automatically get converted to the connect to the your source systems. So if you're observing, it is already connected. On-premises data gateway is online for my site. And I'm using basic authentication. I'm passing my server details, server and password details. I'm using authentication kind is basic. It's not a Windows authentication. Refresh. So I haven't passed the database, which is an optional. You can see the list of databases here. So currently assume that my SQL server, SQL table is resides on this warehouse, this particular database, Adventure Works DW 2019. So I'm selecting here. See here, whatever the steps we are crossing, you can see on the left hand side. So which step we are at current to the data source system. So I'm going to pull my required table, that is sales table, which is already available in my SQL server, dbo.sql, the schema type. On the right hand side, you can see the data preview, how it looks like and what are the number of columns. Maybe if you want to delete the unwanted columns, we can delete in the next step actually. These are the columns with date, CTID, customer, product SKU, and so on, with important metrics like quantity, price, discounts, version IDs. Click on next. So here, connect to the data destination. Connection is KC is my connection type. And I want to load the settings as a new table, or do you want to overlap, or else maybe you want to existing table, you want to load it. So I want to create it as a new table. I don't want to replicate or else replace with the existing table. So new table. And here, this is important. I have to choose the schema type. So this is not currently the activity which I'm working on, data warehouse. This is not a DBO schema. I have created my own schema there. That is a staging schema, staging.sales. And as I said here, we can remove unwanted columns tree. If it is not required, we can remove it like a binary, or else maybe if there is subtables, we can delete it. And also we have a chance to change the data types as well. So from source to the destination, how the data type allocation should be there and what type of a data type you want to see. So complete mapping view, we can observe it here in the column mapping part. If it is not required, we can delete it, and we can maybe if you want to add a new column, it will get appear on your data warehouse. I'm selecting the next. I'm not changing anything. This is important step. So if you're observing the current settings part, enable staging is by default functionality. So I want to create a staging layer. So which would be on my Azure Blob Storage. So I want to store my information. So I'm going to configure here Blob account, one of my Blob account. So I'm testing here, just this connection already created. So blob account where you want to store your this particular table, you are extracting directly from SQL server to your data warehouse. In between, I want to get it resides on my staging layer as a kind of a backup. So let's try to test the connection. Okay. And I had to browse the path, my staging layer, data files, or one second. Okay, 1 minute. Let me showcase to you how it will be. Azure Blob means, let me showcase that process as well, how it will be get stored. I'm providing my Azure Blob account. Connect. Okay. Select OK. This is the path. Data files is one of the folder. So from there, I want to store this particular extract in the sales table. So select next. So you can see the next step with a complete review or else a summary. So from where to where you are storing or else moving your current table. So I'm extracting via from on-premises SQL server with the name dbo.sales. And in center, if you're observing my storage staging area, so where it will be get stored. So it will be get stored in the form of file. And next layer is in my warehouse, currently my warehouse. So in the form of staging.sales. I want to start data transfer immediately. Start run. So this is the window where you are trying to perform the Azure Data Factory, that is pipeline building. You can see the icon here, sales table. This is the one. And this is an icon. If you're observing the left hand side icons here, this is my current warehouse. So you can see the how much time it is taking, some way to where it is getting travel in the form of output. So you can see it here, copy file. And even if you can observe the top notifications part, how much time it is going to take, you can see still it is running. So you can see that stats as well. And as I said, so this file is going to available at daily basis at some time. How I'm going to schedule it? So you can schedule it via scheduler. So there is a scheduling option. So we can turn it on, and here the frequency, if you're observing minute to minute or hourly basis, daily, weekly, monthly, and so on. These are the different frequencies we can try to schedule, and get the new data will be get visible to you in your warehouse. So I'm not scheduling, I'm just showcasing how it looks like. Fine. So you can see the status is succeeded, and this much time has been taken, 45 seconds. Let's see with this particular table, sales table is visible to you on the data warehouse or not. So we have to refresh here. Let's try to refresh. You can see the table, sales table here on your staging layer, staging table. So these are the fields, required fields that are available. Fine. As I said, maybe if you are trying to implement SCD type 2, so how we are going to create a procedure for this. So as I mentioned, we can create a stored procedures as well. Maybe this particular table, after some time, I want to get it deleted. I want to get it available with a new data. In such a scenario, we can create a stored procedure. So here itself, we can create a new stored procedure from here template, or from here SQL template part also you can see new stored procedure with different other schemas or else table creation and views creation. We can do that. Fine. But our requirement is I want to delete this table. Whenever, if I want to call this particular stored procedure, I want to get it appear or else pop up with some new records. Let me showcase to you something, new stored procedure. And before that, let me see how many number of records we have it here. Please observe. I prepared it, small script. You can see the number of records. 10,000 records are available in the sales table. This is the one. So which I have extracted via data pipeline. You can see these records, I'm going to delete it because I want to get it resides a new data as per the process of SCD, slowly changing dimension one. So how I'm going to do that? Stored procedure, create a new stored procedure. So by default, you can see the structure of it, how we are going to get it stored. Let me create a new staging table, staging tables. I don't need any parameters. I'll just try to delete this table. So automatically, whenever you're trying to write some statements, artificial intelligence based, we are seeing some of the statements there, some of the keywords. Delete table, that is sales table, right? Staging, schema, sales. Okay. 1 second, sorry. Okay, fine. This particular procedure, I am going to call it to my pipeline. You can see here, this is my pipeline, sales table pipeline. So how I'm going to trigger this pipeline whenever, if there is a new data, how I'm going to configure it. Please observe here, this is important. So I'm trying to go to these activities. You can see the different transformations and conditions here. So just, I want to create a stored procedure, call the stored procedure, and you have to give it a flow. Like first, I need to get it execute stored procedure, which has to be get deleted the data in the staging of sales table. And the new data, it will be get loaded via this particular copy data pipeline. So to do that, we have to get it configure this stored procedure, go to the settings. Here, the connections part, just now I have created my warehouse. And the storage procedure, I have created it with a clear name. Let's try to refresh. This is the one, call it, and try to map it. Once this is succeeded, I want to execute my data, that is a sales data from SQL Server. Let's try to save it. Save this, validate, and execute. You can see the times, how much time it has to be get taken for the stored procedure execution. After that, sales table. So let me cross verify my data records here. You can see the sales count is 0 now because it is deleted. Complete table is deleted other than the structure. Maybe once it is completed, loading of the pipeline, copy data pipeline, which is my sales table, you can see that information it's still executing. First, the stored procedure executed, and the next one is my sales data, which is going to load it into my data warehouse. Any questions in the chat? You can see both has been executed. Let's try to cross check whether the table records has been loaded or not into your warehouse. Just executing. Let's see. You can see 10,000 records are back. Maybe if it is a new record means it will be get added to your sales table. Like that, we can try to pass, or else we can try to project the staging layer, and we can showcase the data should be get available. Maybe as of now, currently I have implemented SCG type 1. If you want to make use of the SCG type 2, we have to create one more stored procedure to load the historical information as well and get it available in your sales table, or else whatever the table you are trying to extract it. Fine. If you're observing on the left-hand side, these are the tables I have fetched. As I said, few tables I have created on my own by using transaction SQL database. And sales table, I have fetched it via pipeline. Fine. Whenever if you're working, time or date dimension is mandatory if you're trying to build a warehouse. So how I'm going to extract the time dimension? So as I said, I'm going to extract it get the information via this time new data flow gen 2. So we discussed last time, last extraction is in data pipeline, which I have followed the ADF process, so copy commands. And this time I'm trying to use the new data flow gen 2. Let's try to select it. It's almost similar experience as like an online Power Query editor. You can see the similar window. Let's try to give some name to this: time dimension, date, time table. So it is opening. You can see the left hand side icons. This is my warehouse, which is a house kind of a structure. And this is my pipeline. You can see the sales table. And this icon stands for a link, stands for data flow gen 2. So how I'm going to extract this information? As I said, I'm going to pull this information, the timetable is available, resides onto my blob storage. I'm going to extract it. So get data, you can see maybe if the data table is resides locally, we can import it. Or else maybe if it is a SharePoint, we can extract it. Or if you want to pull that information from same SQL Server database, we can instruct it. So as I said, this time I'm going to use differently my table. The timetable information is available on blob storage. Let's try to call this Azure Blob. It supports as is in Power BI Desktop how many data source systems it is supporting. More than 100 plus data source systems it is supporting to extract the files or table informations from your end. I'm just trying to provide my blob storage account details, account name. Currently, if you're observing how you are trying to connect to the blob account means, I'm currently using here the authentication code is SAS, shared access signature, so which I have created. And I'm trying to navigate. Maybe it is valid for up to 6 months. I have given the configuration as 6 months here, edit connections. So I'm trying to generate that SAS token configuration key. And I'm trying to call this via connection. So Azure Blob Storage. Click on next. So it will be showcased to you once it will be get connected a folder. You can see the left hand side, the multiple folders are there. And in the data files, I can see my timetable. So multiple file source systems are available as per the configurations, as per the file availability. And here itself, my time table is available. So how I am going to pull this information to my data warehouse. You can see here, let's try to create it with all the information, but I'm going to get select only time dimension. So please observe here, binary. So automatically the strips will be get created. The file table structure will be stored in the form of a binary. This is my timetable. Let's try to change instead of calling it as a data files, date and time, something like this, date and time. And here data destination, where you want to get it stored. So you can configure it. Maybe if you want to get it stored somewhere, we can configure this data source settings. You can configure it, or you want to directly publish this into your existing warehouses. In the sense, we can directly publish as well. And here too, if you're observing in the top, here to add data destination, it is currently disabled because I know where this file is getting stored. You can see it here. Whenever I'm trying to on hover in this particular workspace, that is the SUG DWH demo, and the warehouse is KC DWH. It is going to get it stored, and it is going to be get added this table into my schema. That is by default, it is a stay DBO schema. Let's try to publish it. Timetable as well. It will take some time. And let's try to navigate to your warehouse. Refresh. We can get the notification as well. So how can we get the notification in the sense? So here we will get a mechanism like the data flow loading that particular table information into your Lakehouse. It will be get available and it will be visible to you here. The data flow success, and we can see the statistics. And once you see the statistics there, we can just try to refresh and we can see what date and time table information in this. See here, data flow, date and time is published successfully. As I said, by default, that particular date and time table, it will be get resides on this DBO schema. We can also configure it to move whenever you are trying to create the right publishing it. You can also move it to your current or else accurate schema, that is staging. But as of now, I just want to showcase to you one more important functionality. We can clone the tables too. So assume that your tables are get resides in a different schema and you have created a new schema for this. You can clone it. So let me refresh it. It's going to store here. See here, date and time table is visible to me on the DBO schema, but currently I'm utilizing the staging layer. So how I'm going to deploy this particular table information? We can clone it. So you can see here, option, clone table, from where to where you want to move it. So currently it is in the DBO schema. I want to move it to staging layer. And you can see the structure as well, SQL statement structure, clone it. Refresh. You can see date and time table here. And from this, we can create a data model. Once the data is visible to you, all the informations, we can create a dedicated data modeling fields, data modeling setup. And on the top of it, you can also prepare a report as well. So how I'm going to prepare a report? Do you want us to open a new window? Not required. So you can see here in the same warehouse, currently we are in the home tab. And the next part is reporting. So here we can start preparing the semantic model as well. Let me refresh it. New schema, semantic model. I'm using only staging layer and I'm trying to create a new semantic layer name called sales update model. Confirm it. So in a dedicated workspace, you can see whatever the activities we have performed. I have extracted the data pipelines and I have extracted the data via data flow gen 2. Now I'm creating a new semantic model. This particular semantic model option also, it will be visible to you on the dedicated workspace, that is KCSSUG DWH demo workspace. It will take some time. Let's wait. It's as simple as easy, but here the data is resides on your OneLake. You can see how the table structure or else icons, you can see it here, the top. It's a direct OneLake, we will call it the storage method in Power BI. So what is this direct OneLake? We have no direct connect, actually direct mode of connect. But here, once you are working on the cloud environment, that data is get resides on your OneLake. It is a faster transactions path. We can directly pulling from OneLake to your table information. So currently you can see in the storage mode is direct lake only within half arrows icons. You can see it here. So how we are going to give a connection? So I'll just try to showcase to you sales table and cities table connection, and I can start creating some report as well. Or else maybe if you're observing, if you want to create a new relationship or else new measures, you can see in the top, you can create a new measures or modeling part. We can try to make use of this modeling as well. Let me showcase a very quick connections to my sales table. So maybe if you're not clear about what are the common columns, we can use, as I said, manage relationships as well. But here the ID column is matching with my city ID column from sales table. So by default, as per my, I'm currently using the trial license, right? My data preview is still not visible, but backend, the data is still there. I can configure it as per my availability. So here, from first to table is cities table, to table is sales table city ID. So it is taking it as an many to one, and cross filter direction is single by default. And one more thing before giving a connection here, the cardinality part, it is supporting all four cardinalities. Sometime back, maybe few months, 3 to 4 months back, it is supporting only three cardinalities other than many to many. Currently it is supporting all four types of cardinalities, just like a Power BI desktop. Save it. Let's try to configure one more SQ based. Data preview is still not visible. It will take some time as this is a cloud environment, right? So, and also I'm using trial license. It will take some time to get it visible to us. I'm just giving version to version. But the model is built and it completely looks like a start schema, the center sales table. So how I'm going to prepare a report, or maybe if you are observing, how I'm going to create a new measure. So new columns is not yet added. In such a scenario, maybe if we want to add any new column, we can use the data warehouse, and there we can alter our table. We can get the new column also into your table analysis. But still, maybe in future we will get the new column analysis also in Power BI. Currently, the new measure option is available, the DAX functionalities part. Maybe if you want to get creative with some new DAX functions, we can get it created by using new DAX functions too, by using a new measure. And fine, how we are going to get start with the new report. So here within the files previously we can see the reporting, a kind of a special tab, but here in files itself we have to navigate and create a new report. So click on the new report. It will be get open as similar experience as like cloud, Power BI services cloud for a particular report. And there you can create a new report environment or else a functionalities part. So assume that, let me create a very quick some numbers as per the sales data. Maybe the price, maybe I just have to come multiply this as a profit by using some measures, but fine, no issues. The final goal should be the front end phase. We have to report it to the customer. So this is the way how we are going to make use of this data warehouse functionalities to load it and store our historical data if required by using SQL type 2, and try to pull that information from warehouse to your reporting part. So let me analyze with this. Okay, different in this way. So this is the process flow to get it extract or else make use of the data warehouse. And the functionalities part, it is faster, and we can try to implement, we can try to extract the data as simple as easy. And also if you have a proper connectors, maybe the different source systems if you're using, we have to use the data by default connectors as well to import the information into the data warehouse. And from there, as I said, we can try to make use of the different activities, advanced analytics, or maybe if you want to build it via this Power BI reporting part, we can pull that information in the form of direct lake. So where the data transfer will be very faster in compared to the direct connect mode, which we will use it in the Power BI desktop. Fine. If you have any queries, please post it and let me know. Any queries?
No, we unfortunately had to shut down the chat earlier because there was some shenanigans. So we'll wait till the end and see if anybody has any questions.
Fine. In the meantime, I'm just trying to save it here. It looks in this way. You can see this is my current workspace. You can see our data flow which you have created, that is a data timetable, and this is the warehouse, and this is the sales table which you have extracted via data pipelines, and along with your semantic model, the one which I have created sales updated model. So save it. On the top of it, as I said, you can create dynamic reports and we can share this analysis to the customers. So this is the current workspace. Hope you like it, and if you have any queries, please post it. Yeah, I'm done.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I have some questions for you. I will say again, we had some shenanigans in the chat, so I had to go ahead and turn it off. I will go ahead and turn on people's mics in case they or redo the chat here shortly. Probably turn people's mics on in case they have any questions.
Yeah, please.
But I do have a couple questions here. We had somebody that was trying to impersonate everybody else, so just creating
Please ask.
general
Please.
chaos. So you showed a lot of different areas. What do you think is kind of the most challenging for people new to Fabric?
Challenging part, understanding or navigating from one person to another person. That is a little bit challenging. Like we don't know where it is available. So time to time it is getting changed. Previously we can see everything on left hand side down panel itself, but now it is changed to a separate window. You can see my screen, right? If you're observing the left-hand side, here itself, we can see all the personas here previous some time back. Now it has been changed to one particular layer, that is a fabric. So for our convenient part. So and how we are going to navigate it. So from one layer to the another. So I want to store my data, where it is going to store my data. These are all, we need to get it analyzed by via learning portals. So Microsoft is providing the complete learning portal, the curve, the step-by-step method wise. So we can easily understand the processing part, but moving from one screen to the another screen is a little bit, which I feel it as an tougher in newbies who are trying to understand on this fabric environment.
Excellent, excellent. And then, so do you find that you're using the, and I've temporarily enabled the chat again in case anybody has questions. Do you find that you are kind of staying inside Fabric at all the times, or using that SQL endpoint inside SSMS?
I'm staying in both places. Yeah.
Yeah. Same
Because
here.
as an
There's some things like with the
architect,
columns
I
that I
have to,
find I can't expand. So I'm like, oh no, I've got
yes,
to go back to my old, nice thing that I'm used to in SSMS.
yes. I'm staying in both the places. So I need to work on backend part and transaction SQL part. So I have to make sure that how it is going to create the new columns and so on. So I will be there at both of the places. Yes, front end as well as the fabric part.
So it's not just me. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. If anybody has any
Thank you, Mike.
questions,
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for the response.
yeah, I do apologize for the shenanigans that was going on in the chat. I apologize to you and to anybody that was in the chat, but wonderful presentation. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for the opportunity, Christina. So I'm very happy to present in your Kansas City SQL Server user group. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks to the users, participants, whoever participated, and very happy to see the comments as well. Thank you. Thanks for the
Excellent.
opportunity again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Have a nice day. Yeah.
You too. And you've got your whole day ahead of you because it's morning.
yeah. For us. Yes.
Get some coffee.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you,
Or chai.
Christina.
Get some
Thank you.
chai, I guess.
Yeah, chai. We will call it chai. Thank you so much. Nice
Thank
talking
you.
to you. Bye. Yeah.
You as well. Bye-bye.